What's up, YouTube? And welcome to my pickups video for the month of July 2025. I was not home much at all this month. I did a lot of travel. I took a big vacation at the beginning of the month and visited North and South Carolina. Visited a whole bunch of minor league ballparks out there and crossed some more off my list, trying to visit every ballpark in the U.S. Still a lot of progress to make out in that market because there is a ton of minor league stadiums in North Carolina in particular, and some of the teams were on the road, and also a game got rained out that I was going to go to. But still, got to go to 6 games within the week. Spent some time at the BMW factory out in South Carolina and also the racetrack out there, so that was a lot of fun. And then obviously did some game hunting while I was out that way. As soon as I got back from that trip, I took a work trip to Wichita, Kansas. Didn't find anything out there really, and then I took another work trip the week after that to Denver, Colorado, and didn't really find anything out there. And then once I got back from all those trips, then it was time for our local con. So we had MoGameCon last weekend here in St. Louis. Been going every year, I think, since it started, and obviously getting bigger and better every year. But got quite a few things from that. Maybe not as much as I've gotten in past years as far as like how much I spent, but definitely some stuff to show this month. So that all being said, a lot of travel, a lot of things that I did. Found some stuff along the way. Let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing I got was an upgrade. This came from the con last week, and I got a copy of the Invincible Iron Man for Game Boy Advance, complete in the box. Before that, I just had this game card-only, and so I just decided that I don't really like having card-only Game Boy Advance games, and so finally got a nice upgrade on this. Got a great price on this at the con. This game goes for like triple what I paid for it, so I was very happy to find this, and then I'll sell off my loose cart. I do think this game is kind of interesting for a couple reasons. This came out like right before the Iron Man first movie, I believe, and so really it had no tie-in to the movie or anything like that, and Iron Man really wasn't a hot property at that time. But this was when Activision was partnered with Marvel for a few years, and they made several games related to the franchises. So kind of neat. And then as far as the game itself, it's not excellent by any means, but it is kind of like a Mega Man clone, so it's very playable. Good colors, things like that. And so just kind of neat to see this without it being like, you know, forced to had to have a bunch of movie scenes in it and tie-ins and advertising and all that kind of stuff. So kind of nice to have this complete in the box. The next thing I'll talk about is while I was out in North Carolina, I got to visit the official Limited Run store. So many of you have bought games from Limited Run, I'm sure, but they do actually have a physical store in Cary, North Carolina, which I believe is very near their headquarters that they ship all the games from. So kind of interesting layout. They created a very retro design to the store. It's got a lot of neon in it, which is very cool. And then the branding is everywhere inside the store, and basically you're buying their leftovers. I know they say that, you know, once a game is out of print, it's out of print forever, but that doesn't mean that they don't have extra copies laying around. So what you'll see is a lot of games that are technically sold out that they actually have backstock of and they're selling. The other reason to visit the store is they actually sell used games as well. So small selection, but they did have some unique stuff. I kind of feel like it's things that they bought maybe to profile in some of the books and other retrospective materials that they've made. And then as soon as they've done that, they sell off the games in the store. It just seemed like there was a little relation with some of the games that they had. So I got a couple games there. I've been so busy I haven't even had a chance to play them. These are games that I don't think are going to be rare or anything like that, but they were stuff that when they were up for pre-order, just for some reason I passed on them. It's a lot different when you see them in a store and you can impulse purchase them, so I decided to go ahead and grab these. So the first one of these is Mr. Gimmick for the PS4. This is, I think, basically just the Famicom game, just put on a PS4 disc with maybe very minimal extras. This game was released in Europe as well, under the Mr. Gimmick title, but we didn't get this one in the US, unfortunately, and it's known to be one of Sunsoft's most graphically impressive late-release titles for the system. So looking forward to playing this on the PS4. I think I played it on an emulator years before and liked it. I do remember it has kind of a weird mechanic as far as like the physics of the game, but it does look very cute, and it is well designed as far as graphics and things like that. So looking forward to checking that out, and you know, again, just passed on it before, decided to grab it. Same thing with this one. This is one that I've said I really don't need this, but again, in the store I'd changed my mind. This is Ninja 5-0 for the PS5. Great game by Konami. Ninja action, one of my favorite genres. I have the original on Game Boy Advance, and that's why I said I really don't need this, because I have that version of it. But I figured, you know, honestly, like with that game being worth a small fortune, if I probably shouldn't even take it out of the box anymore, just, you know, to kind of preserve it. So if I want to pick up and play this game easy-like, this would probably be the best way to go. So I don't really love the cover art on this. The original cover art wasn't great either, but oh well. I mean, again, it's just nice to have, and just I think it's neat that it got a reissue. I understand it's pretty bare bones. Doesn't really seem like it has a whole lot of extras added into it. So again, basically you're just taking a single ROM, throwing it on a disc, and then charging full price for it. But whatever, that's kind of what they do. I do have one other trinket to show from the limited run store. This is the official bag that they give you in the store when you buy stuff. I thought it was nicely designed, so I decided to keep it. But yeah, other than that, it's you know, kind of a small store, but worth checking out if you're out that way. I wouldn't make like a massive detour to go to it, but you just want to look around for a couple hours or whatever. It's interesting at least. I did find some TurboGrafx stuff out in North Carolina. In fact, I would just say like that whole state in general had a lot of TurboGrafx and PC Engine stuff. Way more than I would expect to see in a state like that, because, again, I hardly see any of that stuff here. But maybe they sold more of it there than I was aware of. So this one came from a very interesting game store. I forgot the name of it, but it was in an extremely rural location, and it was on basically the back of somebody's property in a shed. A little sketch pulling up, like you kind of didn't know something was going to happen to you, but inside it was actually very welcoming. It was a family that ran it, and great inventory. I think I kind of got the vibe of like, this is a private collection, but it's also a store, and if you want to buy something, you can, because they had some really impressive stuff in there. So again, they had a case with some TurboGrafx games. I'm not expecting much from this one, but this is Gunboat. This is a game that is kind of like a strategy game, I believe, for the system that came out kind of later in its life. But they had it, and I said, you know what, it's not a super expensive TurboGrafx game, and I don't have it, so I decided to go ahead and grab it. And just basically have something to buy from those people, because they were really nice. So happy to get something there. Apologize, I can't remember the name of the store, but the other thing I can say is nearby in that same area was a pinball museum and arcade that I decided to check out. Honestly, I was a little disappointed with that, so I didn't film any video there, but that's what drew me to that town, and then I found out, lo and behold, there's a game store just a few miles away, and check that out too. So, kind of interesting if you're out in the wilderness of North Carolina that exists. My big purchase of the whole month was actually in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. There was a great game store there. Again, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's probably the only one retro store in that town if you want to look it up. And they had a bunch of TurboGrafx stuff and other high-end stuff, and this was actually very early in my trip, and I was sweating because I was like, man, if I spend this much now, what am I going to have money left to spend on other games this trip? And so I kind of, like, I was glad I got it in retrospect, because it was probably the coolest thing I found on the trip, but still, like, kind of put me out on my my budget a little bit. So that game, with no more ado, is Soldier Blade for the TurboGrafx 16. This one is also an upgrade for me, so I had this game in the with the manual and HuCard that I just put in a jewel case. This is one of the late release TurboGrafx games that didn't have a plastic case originally inside. So you still got the outer cardboard box, just a little cheap plastic tray inside with a manual resting in it and a HuCard. So I'm going to sell off my case and HuCard copy that I've had for many years, because I think this is really cool to have with the outer cardboard box, and you don't see these very often at all. Fantastic shooter, one of my absolute favorites on the system. Can't say enough nice things about this. So definitely one that I will treasure in my TurboGrafx collection. And I just think it's got really cool box art, which many TurboGrafx US games do not. So this one, they maintain the Japanese art. I believe the Japanese cover looks the same, and for good reason. It's a really cool cover. So very happy to have this, and one of the neat Hudson Soft shooters for the system. So that's it for games, but I did get other stuff. And so most of the stuff I got at the con was like manual, well, not even manuals, but just like random gaming ephemera that I found. So one guy that was at the con, I think I bought from him before, very nice guy, had clearly a deep collection that he was just selling off some extras from. He did have boxes of manuals out. I dug through all of them, and I couldn't find anything I needed for NES or any of the other systems he had. But he did have one thing I needed, and that I almost just passed by, is the official manual for the Sega Genesis Nomad system, so the handheld Genesis. I've had a Nomad for many years. I have the official Cary case for it, but I never had the original box or the manual for it. And honestly, I probably have passed this by many times because I didn't realize this is how plain the manual looks. It's just this like fold-out poster, black and white with no pictures on it. So Happy to get this. Again, if I get a Nomad box down the road, I'll have a nice complete system, and I do think it's a really cool system, so just happy to have this to get a little closer to that being complete. The guy gave me a great price on it, so I couldn't argue with that. This came from another game store that was in South Carolina. It was near the BMW factory, and I'd been there other times on BMW trips in the past, but it's kind of an institution in that part of South Carolina. It's near Greenville, but it's actually not in Greenville. Really cool store. Again, my memory is terrible because of all the places I went this month. I cannot remember the official name of it. They do sell loose manuals, which I always like, so I pawed through those as well, and I didn't see anything that I needed NES-wise except for the poster that goes with Exodus, one of the Bible games for the system. I didn't think I had this, so I decided to go ahead and grab it, and honestly I got a good chuckle of it because if you don't know the history of these Wisdom Tree games, these were unlicensed. They did not pay Nintendo for these, which doesn't seem to really follow the Christian values that they were trying to portray. But I thought they really went a little over the top with this one by putting the image of the Bible resting on a Nintendo. I just thought that was sacrilegious, I guess would be the word for that. So thought that was kind of funny, and I'm happy to have that poster in my collection just to get a little closer to all the Wisdom Tree games complete in the box. This next thing I got, again, I'm kind of just going off like the potpourri theme of things that I bought this month. Saw this at the local GameCon, definitely had never seen it before and had to get it just because I love the artwork on it. This is a arcade flyer for the Nintendo Versus system, which came out in the early 80s, which was kind of a unique concept. If you've never played one of these, you basically had two conjoined CRT screens on opposite sides, and you could play some of the classic Nintendo titles, but like in a two-player format with some alternate play modes that were designed to work with the Versus system. So what I thought was incredibly interesting about this particular flyer is that it's not in an arcade. You're not displaying it like where people would have typically played these. It's just at some rich suburban family's house. So I guess they were trying to cross over in that market that you would just buy one of these for the living room. And I thought it was even more interesting that the kids are actually like stuck in the back playing Atari or something because NES wasn't even out yet. And the whole, all the adults are, you know, having a good old time with the system here. So just really liked the 80s suburban family depicted on here, and I thought it was a really cool flyer. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I couldn't pass it up, so just thought that was kind of neat. So everything else I got, it was stuff from the con as well, and these are all magazines, and you guys know I like buying magazines, and I love buying them in person because you don't have to pay shipping on them. So one booth had a really nice selection of mid-90s EGM magazines, and I was totally fine with the price they were charging for them. I pulled up my want list on my phone, and lo and behold, I only needed one out of the whole stack. So it was kind of a bummer, because like that would have been a perfect time to stock up. But I did get a August 96 issue from them, and it's in excellent condition, with a really cool Street Fighter Alpha 2 cover on it. So I think this is a neat one to have. Very thin issue. 96 was kind of a weird year for gaming. Like 95, there was all kinds of crazy systems on the market, and they all flopped for the most part. And then by 96, you were in this like holding zone when PS1 and Saturn were gearing up, and N64 wasn't even out, and things like that. So some of the magazines got a little thin on the vine during that time. And it was weird to see just with how different it was compared to the year prior, and even the year after when things started ramping up very quickly. So neat cover. Already read this issue. Didn't really think it was that phenomenal or anything like that. But you know, what do you expect for a summer issue of a game magazine? That was kind of the low period of the year. All the other magazines I got are all Next Generation magazines, or Next Gen. And this is a magazine that I've only owned a few copies of. I never really was a huge fan of it, but they are very industry focused. That was their theme. They also tried to cover just about everything. And so they had, obviously, console games in these. They covered arcade games. They covered a lot of PC stuff, which I didn't care about at all. So they tried to like really appeal to everybody, but then also having like a lot of articles that were very industry focused, interviews with people that worked in like EA and things like that. So I'm going to give them another chance. I bought this whole stack from my friend Bob. He had bought them off another one of my friends a few years earlier, so we're kind of just like paying the stack forward. And I'll see if I like these. They do take up a lot of space because they're pretty thick, but I'll see how it goes. So the other thing you'll see with these is a lot of them are just have like themes of what's in the issue, so it's not even necessarily like a single game featured on the cover. So kind of just some interesting design of like how they pitch these. I don't think these sold incredibly well. I remember them on the newsstand, but like it wasn't things that I saw people grabbing for. So most of the issues I'm going to show you, there's no like complete runs, but there's quite a few issues from 95, 96, 97, and then like one random one I'll show you at the end. So this is, I think, is actually like a very early issue. It says it's Volume 1, Issue 5. So this one was from 1995. It's May, so I guess January 95 was the first issue that it started with. Again, just kind of a generic upcoming Ultra 64 cover when N64 wasn't even out yet, and people still called it that. Then we have an issue that is talking about, I guess, Wipeout on PS1, but also comparing it to 3DO and just wondering if 3DO is dead in the water, which it kind of was. You have other PS1 focused covers, so I think this one's Demolition Derby. This one's for Madden 97, I guess, or 96, I don't know, one of the early Madden games on PS1. Then we have a Saturn cover. This one's Virtua Fighter. And then this one, this is one that probably made me want to buy the stack. So this one had a neat comparison of all the consoles that were out during this time period, but they also like popped them open and took pictures of the guts of them in here, and so I thought that was kind of neat. And then the other thing that I found with some of these is they had some ads in them that I'd never seen before, and I'm going to try to show you one of them here if I can find it again, because it just kind of put me in the mode of like, wow, were like 90s game ads really this bad in some cases? And I guess they were. And of course now I can't find it. I'll come back to it, but if I do, I will show you that. So we'll go back into the next year. So this is a January 96 Ridge Racer cover. That one's actually kind of cool. I like that. Then we get into some more 96 issues. We have, again, just generic Ultra 64 is coming soon cover with Mario on it. This one is some PC game called Hyperblade. I don't remember that at all. I was not a big PC gamer even back in the day, but I don't remember that game at all. So maybe somebody can fill me in if that was anything special. Again, just we have things that are, you know, a little more generic. This one I think is about MDK on PlayStation, but it also has a big expose on how to get a job in the industry. So again, very, very on brand for what they were going on. This one, I don't even know what game this is. Tenka, I guess. I vaguely remember Tenka being a thing, and they gave it the cover. Probably the only cover that game got. Then we have yet another Mario 64 or Ultra 64 related cover. This issue was kind of funny because I saw the cover, I was like, oh, that'll actually be kind of interesting to look through. And then I got home and I realized I actually already had this one. So this one's about the top 100 games of all time, up to 96 in their opinion. We have a Lara Croft Tomb Raider cover, because of course she was on everything in that era. This issue is incredibly thick. This one is Interstate 76, which I don't think ever came out on console, but was kind of a popular PC game. And then we had some stuff that was kind of like the vehicular combat fad that came out of that. This one is, now we're 97, so we see an Unreal cover, so we have some more PC stuff. This one is kind of interesting. This is April 97. It has Super GT on the cover, which was a cool arcade game by Sega. Never got a home release, unfortunately, even to this day, but neat that that made the cover, and a very cool game if you've never played it. And then again, we have another N64 cover, so May 97, throw Mario on the cover, cheap sales, whatever, gets people to buy the magazine, I guess. We have June 97, this is some PC game by Sierra, or just a tech demo by Sierra, I don't know, not my thing. And then that's really where the run ends, and then for some random reason there was a much later issue when they just called it Next Gen. This is from 2001. I vaguely remember these later issues, and I think the magazine died somewhat recently after this. So again, I haven't had time to dig through all these. I'm sure I will find some interest in them, but not expecting a whole lot. And for a final treat for this video, I found the ad that I wanted to show you. We all know the Virtual Boy didn't do very well. Kimco wasn't a major player in the gaming industry, and also their baseball game for Virtual Boy was not a hit. But maybe it had something to do with this wonderful ad. And I just think, like, what was the inspiration for this? So the ad copy on here, if you can't read it, is, finally, baseball without the chili dog farts. And it goes into a whole diatribe about why you should play baseball on the Virtual Boy at home so you don't have to smell asses at the baseball game. I don't really remember that being a big part of going to baseball games, and I've been to a lot of them, so just very weird that they decided to go with this. But anyways, that's the type of ads you got in the mid-90s. They were sassy, they had attitude, it was a different world than we're in now. So vaguely remember stuff like that, but I had never seen that particular ad, and it caused me pause, so I thought I'd share it with you. that about does it. Hopefully you enjoyed. I do not have nearly as much travel planned for August, so I'm hoping it'll be a little bit more of a calm month for me. But hope you enjoyed. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.